We sometimes think of our partners in this community, our neighborhood groups, our business groups, our civic groups, as adversarial because this is such a passionate community. And yet, when we put aside our day-to-day disagreements, and I'm talking to you, Barbara, we are all in this together. And Kathleen and Barbara and the board of DTSM, you are tremendous, tremendous partners. So if there's one message that I want to leave you with this morning, it is this: never take success for granted. It was back in 1989, as Kathleen and Mayor Winterer said, that the 3rd Street Promenade, after years of frustration and debate about how to revive the historic heart of Santa Monica, opened. And if you go, there's a little plaque next to the dinosaur topiary in front of Barnes & Noble with the names of the civic leaders, the council members and the staff and the folks in the Bayside District that contributed to that remarkable thing. It's just a little piece of history we shouldn't forget. And it was an almost immediate blockbuster success. And now, for nearly 3 decades, it's anchored the revitalization of the entire downtown. But let's not forget that it was only 6 years ago, back in 2011, that this vibrant downtown was largely confined to what is still known as the Bayside District. Santa Monica Place, 3rd Street Promenade. That tremendous energy really hadn't gone any further. And there were many of the people in this room had the vision that downtown Santa Monica should go from Ocean to Lincoln, from Wilshire, all the way over to the Esplanade and the freeway. And that is how downtown Santa Monica Incorporated got its name. It was the fulfillment of your vision. And that effort carried Santa Monica through the Great Recession. And now, with new housing, new hotels, and the arrival of Expo a year ago, the vision of a greatly enhanced downtown Santa Monica has come to pass. So, in recent years, most of our problems have been one of success. How do we retain those cherished local businesses in the face of corporate competition? How do we preserve our historic character while adding infill housing and new development? How do we provide access to throngs of visitors without overwhelming our streets? Now, in a city as dynamic and engaged as Santa Monica, there will always be issues and challenges. But this summer is different. The winds of change are swirling like a tropical storm, and to some people, it's beginning to feel like a hurricane. First, as you heard from James, retail is experiencing the greatest disruption since suburban malls took on main streets decades ago. Some are even calling it a retail apocalypse. We're seeing it in Santa Monica with flagship stores shrinking and stores like Barnes & Noble announcing their closure, resulting, as we've heard, in the highest retail vacancies in 30 years on 3rd Street Promenade. And second, something James didn't talk as much about, there's this massive upheaval in entertainment going on. Today, movies are streamed on screens as small as your phone and as large as an IMAX. The standard 2-hour movie faces competition from everything from, what do they call them, boomerang videos on Instagram, to people binge watching hours and hours of Games of Thrones. And third, eating, as James did talk about, has gone from a biological necessity to a form of self-expression. And we have to admit that Santa Monica's been leading the way. We've pioneered the farm-to-fork movement with our iconic downtown Santa Monica Farmers Market. Now, You look around, there's such a thing, people talk about a food desert. Santa Monica's a food jungle. We've got a cornucopia of food emporiums. We have 3 Whole Foods, 2 Vons, a Pavilions, a Ralph's, a Gelson's, a Co-Opportunity, a Bristol Farms, a Trader Joe's, a Bob's Market, and soon an Erewhon. Not to mention specialty butchers, bakers, cheese shops, and on, all within 8.3 square miles. And as James said, the evolution from groceries to gourmet has occurred at a time when Americans, for the first time in history, spend more on going out than they do on eating in. So now we have 421 restaurants in Santa Monica, and 147 of them are in downtown alone. Let me repeat. Retail is changing dramatically. Entertainment is morphing radically, and dining is shifting fundamentally. And these are 3 dominant national and even global trends that will shape our downtown in the years ahead. Now, we can lead, we can follow, but if we fail to move forward, we will suffer the fate of Westwood, that over the last 30 years has stagnated while Santa Monica has thrived. And these national megatrends are not the only headwinds we are feeling, as Mayor Winter acknowledged. We also face 3 significant regional and local challenges that complicate our lives. The first challenge, as Mayor Winter talked about, is traffic. Now, last year I took some heat for saying that traffic in Santa Monica had reached a tipping point. Well, it hasn't gotten any better. And at least in the short run, regional trends that reach far beyond our borders will continue to flood our streets with traffic. And our second regional challenge, as Mayor Winter talked about, is homelessness. And as you heard earlier, it's a perennial challenge for Santa Monica, but no one doubts that over the past year, the face of homelessness has become more visible and more threatening. Now, some erroneously attribute this to the Expo line. They don't realize that the same exact issue is exploding in communities that don't have a train and in communities that have had a train for years. LA, let's face it, is the epicenter of a national housing crisis and a national homelessness crisis. And it's overwhelmed all of the successful programs that Santa Monica has built over the last 30 years. But the last of our challenges is strictly local. It's also a perennial one in our community. We all know that in Santa Monica, debates over land use are a contact sport. Sometimes these disputes can suck all of the oxygen out of the room. Because people care passionately about this city, you often hear diametrically opposed views on where and how we should grow. In fact, the 2 sides are so polarized that there's even 2 sides about how much growth we're actually even seeing. And instead of building cooperative partnerships to tackle our real-world challenges, too much energy goes into divisive debates that devolve into a dialogue of the deaf. Too often in Santa Monica, our public hearings are that place where no one listens. Now, I would argue that our biggest challenges are not the profound changes in retail. It's not the changes in entertainment and dining. It's not even the regional challenges of traffic and homelessness. Our biggest problem is realizing that our success is fragile, and we have to come together and we have to work together as civic leaders did 30 years ago, courageously to build the 3rd Street Promenade, People laughed at them. They said, it's failed twice. Why are you investing in the downtown? Downtowns are dead. And the civic leaders believed that they could make it work, and they made it work. And we are the recipients of that courage and that vision. And it was just 6 years ago that we created Downtown Santa Monica, Inc. We have shown over and over again the capacity to rise above our differences and come together, residents, business, property owners, to put Santa Monica in the forefront of success. Someone wiser than me taught me a simple formula for community success. Carl Guardino is a civic leader in the Silicon Valley, and he uses the term civic entrepreneur. He says, if you listen closely, most people agree on about 80% of the issues that get debated. Now, sure, we vehemently disagree on some issues, maybe about 20%. That's normal and that's healthy in a democracy. But here's Carl Guardino's formula. Communities that spend 80% of their energy on actually accomplishing the things they agree on, those communities are successful. Communities that waste 80% of their time fighting about the 20% they disagree on, those communities are unsuccessful. So where do we stand in Santa Monica? First, let's acknowledge that we start off with a far stronger foundation than the civic leaders of 30 years ago. They were investing their hopes and public money in just a dream. But we are the stewards of 30 years of successful efforts by this community to create one of the most dynamic and iconic downtowns in America. 95% of the communities in America, and you know this, James, would die to have our problems. So, let's put our challenges in perspective. We have not been struck by a hurricane. Let me repeat my message this morning, though, which is never to take success for granted. Now is the time for us to come together. We agree on 80% of the issues facing us. We know we have to adapt to a changing retail environment. We know we have to adjust to the evolving ways that people are choosing to entertain themselves. We know we have to embrace the opportunities of the food revolution in how we eat and where we eat and what we eat. And we also know that we have to embrace the opportunities of a new model of mobility as an alternative to gridlock. And we know we have to confront the growing regional homeless crisis with a community that's united to deal with this issue compassionately, humanely, constitutionally, and effectively. Now, if we're going to be effective in meeting these challenges, we have to begin to put the divisive local debates about downtown growth behind us. Last month, the City Council unanimously adopted a new downtown community plan to guide development and public policy over the next 15 years. Now, the process took 6 years. Didn't it, Jane? Didn't it, Peter? There were countless hearings and workshops. We heard from thousands of residents and stakeholders, and they all weighed in with their opinion. In Santa Monica, you get 30 people in a room, and you've got at least 31 opinions. The downtown community plan is not perfect. I don't know any plan that is. Some complain it'll allow too much growth. Some complain it won't allow enough growth. Ladies and gentlemen, they can't both be right. We listened. Nobody walked away without getting something. Nobody was ignored. The plan will improve our historic character. The plan will produce new housing, including significant affordable housing. The plan will preserve our historic fabric and buildings. It will add new housing, improve and expand public spaces, and it emphasizes art, culture, and urban vitality. And so we agree on 80% of this. So let's put 80% of our energy into bringing that vision to actually implementation and reality. The Planning Commission approved the plan 6-1. The City Council, which I remind you was elected by the voters of Santa Monica, approved it unanimously. After 6 years of debate, it's time to move forward together. We need to save our energy for the real challenges. We must build on our shared history, our fantastic assets, our powerful brand, and our incredibly talented and engaged and passionate community voices. Now, our shared challenge is to create a 21st century downtown that evolves gracefully to adapt to the new ways people shop, the new ways they dine, and the new ways they entertain themselves. And I think we have a fantastic story to tell. Santa Monica has a real downtown. This is not a 200-acre mixed-use project that one developer has plopped down in the middle of nowhere. This is not Las Vegas. This is not architecture stolen from somebody else. This is not a carbon copy of some other successful development. This is a genuine historic downtown that has been built by real people investing their time and their money and their vision and their care for more than a century. And you can see it in the bricks and mortar, and you can see it in the faces of the diverse people that come from all over the planet to experience this unique and special place. Our pier is the 9th most Instagram place on the planet, right below the Eiffel Tower and right above Red Square. Our downtown public library attracts nearly 1 million visitors a year. The Promenade is one of one of the nation's most vibrant retail streets. Expo has been a blockbuster success from day one, exceeding the 2030 projections by more than 13 years. And as you heard from Mayor Winterer, our Breeze Bike Shares in 1 year, in 8.3 square miles, has racked up more than 1 million miles of ridership. And let's not forget that Santa Monica has one of the most enduring and popular farmers markets long before there was food halls. And our downtown is an ever-changing kaleidoscope of local and brand name businesses. We have shops, we have restaurants, we have cafes, we have theaters, we have hotels, we have gyms, and it's also more than that. It's our historic landmarks, that statue of St. Monica with the ocean in the background. It's beloved houses of worship that are still vibrant. It's our venerable civic institutions like the YMCA. It's our diverse and critically important surrounding residential neighborhoods that are the lifeblood of the living room that is our downtown. It's not a time to feel sorry for ourselves. Feel sorry for Houston. Feel excited about Santa Monica. Let's capitalize on the runaway success of the Expo and our Breeze Bike Share. Let's welcome people who want to get out of their cars. Let's double down on a new model of mobility. Let's welcome our local residents and visitors if they want to bike, if they want to walk, if they want to use public transit. This is a great beach community to get out of your car and enjoy the fantastic weather, enjoy the fantastic people, enjoy the fantastic attraction and amenities and reality of who we are and what we've built. So, let's also capitalize on our shared community's reserves of compassion and common sense and experience to tackle the scourge of homelessness, as Mayor Winterer has said. And Mayor Winterer and Mayor Pro Tem Davis and the entire City Council, we are going to tackle this issue. We are not, as Mayor Winter said, going to solve this within 8.3 square miles or even the 220 acres of downtown. But we will not accept that it's okay for people to be without homes, without jobs, without care, and without hope. We are not going to accept that people are going to live on our streets without accountability for their behavior. We will not surrender our streets and public spaces to misery and antisocial behavior. I'm deadly serious when I say there is no place in Santa Monica for homelessness. We are not going to send people away, but we can't allow them to wander our streets, dragging everything they own, living with no place to sleep, no work to do, no care for what ails them, and no accountability for their actions. It's not morally sustainable, it's not economically sustainable, and it's not politically sustainable to allow it to continue. So downtown Santa Monica and the Chamber of Commerce and our city and our nonprofits and our businesses and our faith organizations and our neighborhood groups and our civic leaders have convened a community task force to bring to bear the entire focus of this community on relentless engagement to make sure that nobody who needs help goes without help, and nobody who wants a job goes without a job, and no one who needs mental health care wanders our streets screaming obscenities at the top of their lungs. That's not acceptable. And you'll shortly be hearing much more about this, and we invite you to join in this effort. So let me conclude with just a very urgent appeal. Never take success for granted. Never let success slip through our fingers. That's what happened to Westwood. Never let success be sacrificed to needless bickering among ourselves. We have serious challenges ahead of us. We have serious problems we need to solve. We need serious people who are ready to solve them. So don't leave this room today saying hello to your friends and your allies. Reach out to someone to whom you've had disagreements and remind them that we are all in this together. We've got to work together. We've got to find common ground. We've got to unite to tackle traffic, homelessness, and the opportunities that we have in this amazing place at this amazing time. It's through partnerships that we are going to thrive. Why? Because over the last 30 years, we've demonstrated that partnerships work. So let's be back here next summer, recognizing that we've spent 365 days working together to make this incredible downtown what it has been, what it is, and what it can be. Thank you.